The big metal ship moved slowly through space toward Earth. Inside the ship, 12 alien students sat in their seats, looking out the windows at the blue planet below. They had traveled from faraway worlds to learn about Earth and its people. This was the first time aliens and humans would study together, Jake. Morrison waited at the space station above Earth. He was a commander in the Earth Defense Corps and wore his blue uniform with pride.
Oh.
Jake had seen many strange things in space, but he had never met aliens before. Today would be different. Today would change everything. The alien ship docked with a loud clang. Jake straightened his uniform and walked to the airlock door. When it opened, he saw the most amazing sight of his life. 12 beings from different worlds stepped through the door. Each one looked completely different from the others. The first alien was tall and thin with blue skin. It had 4 arms and eyes that glowed like stars. The second alien looked like a walking tree with bark for skin and leaves growing from its head. The third alien was covered in fur and walked on 6 legs, like a giant cat. But the alien that caught Jake's attention was the biggest one. It was 8 feet tall, with thick gray skin that looked like armor. Its arms were as thick as tree trunks, and its hands could probably crush rocks. This was Zexa, a warrior from the planet Kralea. His people were famous across the galaxy for being the strongest fighters anyone had ever seen. "Welcome to Earth," Jake said, trying to sound calm even though his heart was beating fast. "I am Commander Jake Morrison." Zexar stepped forward and looked down at Jake. When he spoke, his voice was deep like thunder. "I am Zexar of Kralea. We thank you for letting us visit your world." The other aliens introduced themselves one by one. There was Vexta, from the water world of Aquas, who had to wear a special suit filled with water to breathe. There was Krychtok from the desert planet Sandros, whose skin was like leather and could survive in the hottest places. Each alien was more amazing than the last. Dr. Lisa Grant arrived at the station an hour later. She was Earth's best scientist when it came to studying life forms. Lisa had spent years preparing for this day. She had made plans to show the aliens all the wonderful animals and plants that lived on Earth. "Hello, everyone," Lisa said with a big smile. "I'm Dr. Grant, and I'll be your guide to Earth's wildlife. We have so many incredible creatures to show you." The aliens looked excited. On their home worlds, most planets had only a few different types of animals. Some planets had no animals at all. Earth was special because it had millions of different creatures living together. Zexar crossed his massive arms. "We have heard stories about Earth's dangerous beasts. We want to see these fierce predators that hunt in your forests." Lisa laughed. "Oh, we'll see plenty of predators. But you might be surprised by what we consider dangerous here on Earth." The group traveled down to Earth in a small shuttle. It landed at a research station in the middle of a forest. The alien students stepped out and immediately started looking around in wonder. The forest was full of sounds they had never heard before. Birds sang in the trees, insects buzzed through the air, and small animals moved through the bushes. "This is amazing," whispered Vexta, the water alien. "There are so many different sounds. How many creatures live here? Just this small forest. There are probably over 10,000 different species," Lisa explained. "And that's just the ones we've discovered so far." The aliens couldn't believe it. Krychtok, the desert alien, knelt down and touched the soft earth. "The ground is alive," he said in amazement. "I can feel tiny creatures moving in the soil." Katie Sullivan, a young human student, joined the group. She was helping Dr. Grant with the tour. Katie had grown up in these forests and knew them better than anyone. She was excited to share her knowledge with visitors from other worlds. "Let's start with some of the smaller hunters," Lisa said as they walked down a forest path. "Earth has predators of all sizes, from tiny to huge." Zexar looked around at the trees. "Where are the large beasts? The ones with sharp teeth and claws?" "We'll see some of those later," Lisa said. "But first I want to show you something that might surprise you." They walked deeper into the forest. The alien students were amazed by everything they saw. Butterflies with colorful wings flew past them. Squirrels ran up and down trees. A deer watched them from behind some bushes before running away. "These creatures are so beautiful," said one of the aliens. "But where are the dangerous ones?" Katie smiled and pointed to a small leaf hanging from a branch near the path. "Right there," she said. The aliens all looked at the leaf. They didn't see anything dangerous. It just looked like a normal green leaf. "I don't see anything," Zexer said, squinting his eyes. "Look closer," Katie said. "Right on the edge of the leaf." The aliens moved closer to the leaf. Finally, one of them saw it. Sitting on the leaf was the tiniest spider they had ever seen. It was smaller than the smallest part of their fingers. It was so small that they could barely see it at all. "That little thing?" Zexar asked. "That's supposed to be dangerous?" The other aliens started laughing. How could something so tiny be dangerous to anyone? It was smaller than the smallest creatures on their homeworlds. "This is a jumping spider," Dr. Grant explained. "And yes, it's one of Earth's most skilled hunters." The aliens looked at each other and then back at the tiny spider. They couldn't understand how something so small could be called dangerous. This was going to be an interesting day. The tiny jumping spider sat perfectly still on the green leaf. It was so small that the alien students had to lean in close just to see it clearly. The spider's body was no bigger than a grain of rice, and its 8 tiny legs were thinner than human hair. Dr. Grant pulled out her tablet computer and smiled at the confused aliens. "Let me show you something amazing about this little hunter," she said. She pressed a button on her tablet and a video started playing. The screen showed a jumping spider, much like the one on the leaf. But this video was filmed through a special microscope that made everything look much bigger. The aliens watched in silence. As the video showed the spider moving across a leaf, its 8 eyes moved independently, looking in different directions at the same time. The spider could see almost everything around it without turning its head. "Look at how it moves," Katie said, pointing at the screen. "See how it lifts its front legs to feel the air? It's checking for vibrations that might tell it where prey is hiding." In the video, a small fly landed on a leaf about 10 spider lengths away. The jumping spider immediately turned toward the fly and crouched down low. For a few seconds, nothing happened. The spider stayed perfectly still like a statue. Then something incredible happened. The spider launched itself through the air like a tiny rocket. It flew in a perfect arc and landed exactly on top of the fly. The whole jump took less than 1 second. "Possible," whispered Zexar, the giant warrior. His yellow eyes were wide with surprise. How did it know exactly where to jump? Spider calculated the distance, the wind, and the movement of its target, Dr. Grant explained, all in just a few seconds. Then it made a perfect jump to catch its prey. The video showed the jump again in slow motion. The aliens could see how the spider pushed off with its back legs, spread its front legs to steer through the air, and landed with perfect accuracy. "But it's so small," said Vexta, the water alien. "How can something so tiny be so precise?" Katie knelt down next to the leaf where the real spider was sitting. "This little spider can jump 50 times the length of its own body," she said. "That would be like Zexar jumping from here to the other side of the forest in one leap."
The aliens
Looked at Zexar and then at the forest around them. The trees stretched far into the distance. If the big warrior could jump like the spider, he could fly over the entire forest and land wherever he wanted. 50 times? Asked Krychtok, the desert alien. "Are you certain of this measurement?" Dr. Grant nodded. "We've measured it many times, and they almost never miss their target. Their accuracy is better than our best human athletes." She showed them another video. This time, the spider was jumping from branch to branch, moving through a small tree like an acrobat. Each jump was perfect. The spider never slipped or fell. It moved with confidence and speed that amazed the watching aliens. "On my world," Zexar said slowly, "we measure a warrior's strength by how far he can leap in battle. Our greatest warriors can jump 3 times their body length. This tiny creature can jump 50 times its length." "That's right," Lisa said. "And watch this." The next video showed a jumping spider hunting a much larger insect. The prey was 5 times bigger than the spider, but the spider didn't hesitate. It stalked the larger insect carefully, waited for the perfect moment, then pounced with deadly accuracy. It hunts creatures bigger than itself, observed one of the tree-like aliens. This is most unusual. Katie pointed back to the real spider on the leaf. This little one has probably caught dozens of insects today. It's been hunting since sunrise, and it will keep hunting until sunset. The spider suddenly moved. Its head turned toward a small gnat that was flying nearby. The aliens held their breath as they watched the tiny predator focus on its target. The spider's body tensed. Its legs spread slightly for better balance. Its multiple eyes tracked the gnat as it flew in circles around the leaf. "It's calculating," whispered Dr. Grant. "Watch its eyes. See how they're all focused on the gnat? It's measuring distance, speed, and direction." The gnat flew closer to the leaf. The spider crouched lower, ready to spring. The alien students were completely silent, watching this tiny drama unfold. Then the spider jumped. It shot through the air like a small bullet and caught the gnat in mid-flight. The whole thing happened so fast that several aliens missed it completely. "You see that?" Katie asked excitedly. "It caught a flying target." "That's like hitting a moving target while you're flying through the air yourself." Zexar stared at the spider, which had returned to the leaf and was now eating its catch. Mighty Warrior looked thoughtful. On his home planet, catching flying prey was considered one of the most difficult skills a hunter could master. Even the best Kralian warriors needed years of training to hit flying targets accurately. "This small creature," Zexar said quietly, "it makes this difficult task look easy." "Earth is full of creatures like this," Dr. Grant said. "Animals that can do amazing things even though they're very small." The aliens looked around the forest with new eyes. Every leaf, every branch, every patch of ground might hide another incredible tiny hunter. They began to understand that Earth's danger didn't always come from big teeth and sharp claws. Sometimes the most impressive predators came in very small packages. Zexar stood up to his full height of 8 feet and looked down at the tiny spider on the leaf. His thick gray skin gleamed in the forest sunlight, and his massive hands could crush rocks without effort. He was the strongest warrior his planet had ever produced. "I want to test myself against this small hunter," Zexar announced to the group. The other alien students turned to look at him in surprise. Dr. Grant and Katie exchanged worried glances. They had never heard of anyone wanting to challenge a jumping spider before. "What do you mean?" asked Dr. Grant carefully. Zexar pointed one enormous finger at the spider. "This creature is supposed to be a great hunter. I want to see if it can hunt me. I want to test my warrior reflexes against its abilities." The other aliens murmured among themselves. This sounded like an interesting idea. They were curious too. See how their strongest companion would do against Earth's tiny predator. "I don't think that's a good idea," Katie said quietly. "These spiders are very fast and very accurate. They might surprise you." Zexar laughed, and the sound was like distant thunder. "Little human, I have fought against the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. I have battled space pirates and won. I have defeated monsters that could swallow your entire planet. What could this tiny spider possibly do to me?" It's the other alien. Students nodded in agreement. Zexar was legendary among their people. He had never lost a fight or failed a challenge. His reflexes were faster than lightning, and his strength was beyond measure. "Please," Zexar said to Dr. Grant, "I mean no harm to the creature. Simply want to see if it can successfully hunt something as large as me. Think of it as a scientific experiment." Dr. Grant looked at Katie, who shrugged her shoulders. "Suppose we could set up a safe test," Katie said. "We have some observation chambers back at the research station." 20 minutes later, the group stood in the research station's laboratory. Katie had carefully moved the jumping spider into a clear glass box that was 2 feet long and 1 foot wide. The spider sat in one corner looking around at its new surroundings with its 8 tiny eyes. "The test is simple," Dr. Grant explained. "Zexar will put his hand flat against the wall of the chamber. We'll see if the spider can successfully hunt his finger by jumping onto it." Zexar looked at his enormous hands. Each of his fingers was longer than most Earth creatures and thicker than a human's arm. His skin was like natural armor, harder than steel and tougher than leather. "This will be amusing," he said with confidence. It's a tiny hunter against the great warrior. The other alien students gathered around the observation chamber. They were excited to see this unusual contest. Some of them took out recording devices. To capture what they thought would be a funny moment, Zexar knelt down beside the chamber and placed his right hand against the glass wall. His palm was so large it covered almost the entire side of the box. His fingers spread out like thick tree branches. "Ready when you are, little hunter?" Zexar said to the spider. The spider had been sitting still in the corner, but now it began to move. It turned toward Zexar's hand and tilted its tiny head. Its 8 eyes focused on the massive target in front of it. "Look at how it's studying his hand," Katie whispered to Dr. Grant. "It's calculating distance and angle, just like it did with the gnat." The spider moved closer to the center of the chamber. It positioned itself carefully, turning slightly to get the best angle for its jump. Its legs spread out for balance, and its body crouched low. "It looks so serious," said Vexta, the water alien, "like a real warrior preparing for battle." Zexar watched the spider with growing interest. It expected the tiny creature to be afraid of something so much larger than itself. Instead, the spider seemed completely calm and focused. It showed no fear at all. For several seconds, nothing happened. The spider remained perfectly still, like a tiny statue. Zexar kept his hand pressed against the glass, waiting. "Datho!" Aliens held their breath. Then the spider's body tensed. Its eyes locked onto a spot in the center of Zexar's largest finger. The tiny predator had chosen its target. "Here it comes," Katie said softly. What happened next would be talked about in alien universities for decades to come. The spider launched itself through the air with incredible speed. It flew across the chamber like a tiny missile. It's moving so fast that most of the observers couldn't even see it. But Zexar could see it. His warrior reflexes, trained through years of combat, detected the movement instantly. His body reacted. Before his mind could even process what was happening, the mighty Kralian warrior jerked his hand away from the glass so violently that he lost his balance. His chair tipped backward, and he crashed to the floor with a tremendous bang that shook the entire laboratory. The spider, meanwhile, had completed its jump perfectly. It hit the glass wall exactly where Zexar's finger had been just a split second before. Finding no target there, it simply bounced off the glass and landed gracefully on the floor of the chamber. Complete silence filled the laboratory. The alien students stared at their strongest warrior, who was lying on his back on the floor, looking shocked and confused. Zexar had never been defeated so quickly or so completely. The tiny spider calmly walked back to its corner and sat down, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. For a long moment, nobody moved or spoke. Zexar lay on his back on the laboratory floor, staring up at the ceiling with wide yellow eyes. His massive chest rose and fell as he breathed heavily. The other alien students stood frozen, trying to understand what they had just seen. The tiny jumping spider sat calmly in its corner of the glass chamber. It cleaned its front legs with its mouth, completely unbothered by the chaos it had caused. To the spider, this was just another day of hunting. Katie was the first to break the silence. "You okay, Zexar?" she asked, rushing over to help the fallen warrior. Zexar slowly sat up, his thick armor-like skin scraping against the floor. He looked at his right hand, the one he had pulled away from the glass. His fingers were trembling slightly, something that had never happened to him before in his entire life. I could not control my reaction," Zexar said quietly. His deep voice sounded confused and amazed. "My body moved without my permission. The tiny hunter was so fast that my warrior instincts took over completely." Dr. Grant knelt down beside the observation chamber and looked at the spider with new respect. "That's exactly what happened," she said. "Your reflexes detected a threat and reacted faster than your conscious mind could process." "But it's so small," whispered Vexta, the water alien. "How can something so tiny trigger such a powerful response from our strongest warrior?" Commander Jake Morrison had been watching. From the back of the room, he stepped forward with a knowing smile on his face. "Size doesn't matter when it comes to reflexes," he explained. "Your brain doesn't care how big the threat is. It only cares about how fast and accurate it is." Zexar slowly stood up, using a table to steady himself.
Yes.
He was 8 feet tall and weighed more than 3 humans combined, but he looked shaken. In all my years of combat training, nothing has ever moved that fast, he said. The spider jumped at about 15 feet per second, Katie explained, checking her measurements on a tablet. That's faster than most bullets when you account for the distance it traveled. The other alien students gathered around the chamber to get a closer look at the spider. They saw it differently now. This wasn't just a tiny creature sitting on a leaf. This was a perfectly designed hunting machine that had just defeated their most powerful warrior. Look at its eyes, said Krychtok, the desert alien. They're still watching everything around it. It's ready to jump again at any moment. The spiders. 8 eyes did indeed continue to move independently, scanning the area for threats or prey. Even though it was trapped in a glass box, it remained alert and ready for action. This is impossible to believe, said one of the tree-like aliens. On our world, the largest predators are the most dangerous. How can your smallest hunters be so effective? Dr. Grant pulled up more videos on her tablet. Let me show you something else about Earth's small predators, she said. She played a video of a praying mantis catching a hummingbird in mid-flight. Then she showed them footage of an ant lifting 50 times its own weight. Earth's evolution has created incredible abilities. In creatures of all sizes, she explained. We have tiny animals that can survive in the vacuum of space, microscopic creatures that can live in boiling water, and insects that can navigate using the stars. Zexo walked back to the observation chamber and stared down at the spider. Little warrior, he said softly, you have taught me something important today. I have always believed that strength comes from size and power, but you have shown me that true strength can come from speed, precision, and perfect timing. The spider looked up at him with its multiple eyes, but showed no fear. It simply continued its patient watch, ready to react to any movement or opportunity. Want to learn more about Earth's small hunters? Zexar announced to the group. This tiny creature can defeat me so easily. What other amazing abilities do your small animals possess? The other alien students agreed enthusiastically. They'd come to Earth expecting to see large, impressive beasts. Instead, they had discovered something far more interesting. A world where every creature, no matter how small, was a masterpiece. Of natural engineering, Katie smiled and pulled out a field guide to Earth's insects. Well, if you want to learn about small hunters, we have plenty to show you. There are spiders that can walk on water, beetles that can produce light, and wasps that can paralyze creatures much larger than themselves. And that's just the beginning, Dr. Grant added. We have microscopic predators that hunt bacteria, tiny fish that can generate electricity, and insects that can camouflage themselves to look exactly like leaves or flowers. Commander Morrison watched the excitement growing among the alien students. He had seen this transformation many times before when visitors came to Earth. They always arrived thinking they knew what to expect. They always left with a completely new understanding of what life could achieve. The universe is full of surprises, he said to the group. But Earth specializes in packing the biggest surprises into the smallest packages. Zexar nodded slowly, still looking at the spider. Tiny creature had changed his entire view of what it meant to be a warrior. Size and strength were important, but speed, accuracy, and intelligence could be even more powerful. The spider jumped to a different corner of its chamber, moving with the same lightning speed that had defeated the great warrior. This time, Zexar didn't flinch. Instead, he watched with deep respect and growing fascination. He was beginning to understand that he had much to learn from Earth's smallest teachers. 3 months after the jumping spider defeated Zexar, everything had changed. The story spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed travel. Universities on dozens of planets wanted to hear about the tiny Earth creature that had humbled the greatest warrior in known space. Zeg, single quotes, had become a completely different person. The massive Kralian warrior now spent his days studying videos of Earth's smallest animals. He watched ants work together to build bridges with their bodies. He learned about bees that could tell other bees exactly where to find flowers by dancing. He studied beetles that could produce light brighter than some stars. Look at this, Zexar said to his fellow students, pointing at his tablet screen. This tiny wasp can control the mind of a spider much larger than itself. It makes the spider build a special web, then uses that web to protect its babies. The other alien students gathered around to watch the video. They had all become fascinated with Earth's small creatures. Every day brought new discoveries that amazed them more than the last. Dr. Grant had changed her entire teaching program because of what happened that day. Instead of starting tours with Earth's largest animals, she now began every visit with the smallest ones. The jumping spider, now famous across the galaxy, lived in a special habitat at the research station. "We've had visitors from 47 different planets come here just to see our jumping spider," Katie told the original group of students. "Everyone wants to understand how something so small can be so effective." Katie had been promoted to head of a new department called Small Creature Studies. Her job was to teach alien visitors about Earth's tiny animals and what made them so special. She loved her work and was amazed by how interested aliens were in learning about insects and spiders. The jumping spider itself seemed unaware of its fame. It continued to hunt and jump and live its normal spider life. Sometimes it would catch flies or gnats while alien scientists watched and took notes. The spider didn't care about the attention. It only cared about finding its next meal, Commander. Morrison often visited the research station to see how the alien students were doing. He was pleased to see how much they had learned and grown during their time on Earth. The most important lesson he told a group of new alien visitors is that you can't judge anything by its size alone. The smallest creatures often have the most amazing abilities. Word of the spider's victory had reached the highest levels of galactic government. Military leaders from across the galaxy wanted to study Earth's small predators to learn new fighting techniques. Scientists wanted to understand how such tiny brains could make such perfect calculations, but the biggest change was in how aliens viewed Earth itself. Before the spider incident, most aliens thought Earth was just another planet with some interesting animals. Now they understood that Earth was something truly special in the universe. "Every creature on this planet is a miracle of engineering," Vexta wrote in her report to the Aquos Science Academy. "They have abilities that seem impossible, packed into bodies smaller than our smallest tools." Zexar had written his own report for the Kralian War Council. In it, he explained how the tiny spider had taught him that true strength came from skill and precision, not just size and power. His report changed how Kralian warriors were trained. "We must learn to be like the jumping spider," Zexar wrote. "Fast, accurate, and always ready. Size means nothing if you cannot hit your target." The alien students had extended their stay on Earth from 3 months to a full year. They wanted to learn about as many small creatures as possible. Each day brought new wonders that challenged everything they thought they knew about life. "Today, we studied tardigrades," Krychtok announced at dinner. "They are so small you need a microscope to see them, but they can survive in the vacuum of space. They can live through temperatures that would kill any other creature we know." "When yesterday we learned about fungus gnats," added another student. "The babies glow in the dark and catch prey with threads of light. They turn cave ceilings into fields of stars." Dr. Grant smiled as she listened to the students share their discoveries. Each alien had found their own favorite Earth creatures to study. Some loved the social insects like ants and bees. Others were fascinated by hunting spiders and praying mantises. The research station had become the most popular destination for alien students in the galaxy. The waiting list to visit was now 3 years long. Everyone wanted to see the planet where tiny creatures could defeat mighty warriors. But perhaps the most important change was in the aliens themselves. They returned to their home worlds with a new understanding of what life could accomplish. They shared their knowledge and changed how their own people thought about the universe. Years later, when the first Galactic Natural History Museum was built, the main exhibit was dedicated to Earth's smallest creatures. At the center of the exhibit was a habitat containing jumping spiders, with a sign that read, "In memory of the day the smallest teacher gave the greatest lesson." Zexar often visited that exhibit. He would stand for hours watching the spiders jump and hunt, remembering the day one tiny creature changed his entire view of the universe. Next to him, alien children from dozens of different worlds would press their faces against the glass, amazed by the incredible tiny hunters from Earth, the jumping spider that had defeated. Zexer lived a long and peaceful life at the research station. When it finally died of old age, it was honored with a statue that stood in the main lobby. The statue was exactly life-size, which meant most visitors had to look very carefully to see it at all, but they always found it because then, everyone knew that the most important things in the universe often came in the smallest packages.